The Drag Race community at large is really sleeping on these international seasons because I guarantee that these are providing so much better content than anything that Ru & Co ever could come up with. Hi, hello everyone, welcome in. My name is Jer and I was someone's +1. And then they left. This week in Drag Race España, things hit the ceiling and exploded everywhere. It was honestly such a gag by the time we got to the end of this episode. The emotional whiplash that I felt after watching such incredible performances on the main stage only to have two queens go home honestly took my breath away. It's been a long time since a regular mainline Drag Race season has made me feel any kind of way. And so far in Drag Race España, I have felt the gambit of emotions from crying in an episode to now being left completely breathless. And we all knew that something was going to happen. A couple of weeks ago in the workroom, the queens were talking about a potential double elimination. And then when that double save happened last week, we already saw in the preview that there was going to inevitably be a double elim. And this week it actually happened. I honestly get the impression that this was an excuse to get out two players that maybe the panel wasn't feeling very much. I really have liked Ava Harrington, but she hasn't really given a ton to the camera. She's not providing a lot of great TV. And La Escandalo, as much as I really enjoy her energy, I don't really get the sense that the panel is. So this week felt kind of like an excuse to just get them out of the competition now, rather than have to let this double elimination loom for several weeks. And on one hand, I kind of wish that this had been reserved for what could be a really bad lip sync coming in the future. But then on the other hand, I kind of appreciate that it's over. But before we get into the episode, there's something huge we have to talk about. Crash Cosmetics is gone. Like, they're out of business. But the info is already in the can that they are going to give them a year's supply of makeup. So where is that makeup coming from if it's not gonna be Crash? Since they have essentially relinquished responsibility by going out of business, I wonder if Norvina is gonna fly out. I don't know, but this is a crazy turn of events that the primary package presenter is no longer in business. I don't think this has ever happened. I very firmly believe and have said for many years that there are archetypes of certain queens that exist across the Drag Race franchises. I've talked ad nauseam about the Jan, I've talked about the Srimala variant, and I am firmly asserting now there's a Melinda Verga variant, and the second one has presented themselves fully and fiercely, and that is Crystal Forever. Crystal has, I think, solidified her position as a Melinda Verga variant. She starts out the episode by apologizing to Nyx, but from what we can see in the coming up, she gets so activated that she walks out of the room. Yo, that's Melinda Verga if I've ever seen one. And we don't get a lot of this older archetype of queen who's just like painted the house down, but is a little bit unstable in the confessionals. Just a little bit. This unhinged woman is kind of mothering. Mommy dearest mothering, but mothering nonetheless. The Maxi Challenge this week is a singing and dancing one, and I always love girl groups in the international seasons. I don't know what it is about WoW Presents International that really goes in hard on these girl groups, but they know what time it is, even more so than what Ru & Co do. But before that, we get a wild mini challenge where the girls essentially have to twerk balls out of boxes. Yeah, it was weird as shit, but the pit crew, he's the one I want to talk about. This man was straight up dreamy with his little gelled mustache. I need him so bad. The España pit crew, I think, might be the sexiest men in all of the Drag Race franchises. Like, if we were to put up each one of the pit crew members, at the top of it would be España and Italia for me, with like Philippines coming right in third. But this man was delightful. Laka Udia wins the mini challenge, with Margarita and Denabola being the other two winners, high placers. And they get to then form their groups and all decide amongst each other who's going to get which song. This whole situation, this fight with the song Hater, I am dubbing Hater Gate because it was extremely similar, if not a parallel universe to Metal Gate in season 15. If you are listening along along with my Drag Race podcast, which drops every single week here on YouTube and wherever you find podcasts. You can find those links below. We are covering season 15 right now, so Metalgate and that whole old lady girl group fresh up in the meats right now. These groups are fighting over the song Hater. They want it so badly. But Laka Udia made the smartest decision, and that was to say, okay, while y'all are fighting over this, can we just have this other song? Do y'all mind? Which is precisely what happened in season 15, when you've got these feuding groups who are so locked in on getting one thing. They're not really gonna notice if you sweep in and take one of the options off the table. And because they're so dead set on fighting and duking it out, you get pick of whatever's left. So that was very smart of Laka Udia for stepping in and just deciding to take that rather than trying to fight for whatever those last two pieces were. Because that fight would have been even worse than the Hater Gate. Laka Udia's group wants to do this entire song about being anti-chaser. Chasers being people that really like the dolls because they're trying to explore something. And I gotta say, for me personally, I don't really enjoy the straight male fantasy. It doesn't do anything for me at all. They take horrible nudes, they're badly groomed, some parts are just completely inedible, but Satine loves a straight man fantasy, and I love that for her. I hope that she gets all of the straight men chasing after her in her DMs as soon as the show is over, because low-key this old lady could get it. In the workroom before the performances, we have some really beautiful conversations about queer violence, both on and offline. And I think these conversations were very important, and I really appreciated seeing Nyx's not only maturity, but also vulnerability to come forward and say, I've dealt with this, and I understand that everybody else has had their things that they've also dealt with. And I'm really enjoying Nyx so much in this season. I'm glad that she got a second chance, and I hope that after this episode she does not drop the ball again, because I think she's got a lot of the right stuff to go all the way to the end. So in these performances, the WoW app has failed me so badly. I don't know if y'all are experiencing this. For those of you who watch with subtitles, the subtitling has gotten worse over the last year on the WoW app, and it's getting infuriating at this point. There's no excuse why the translations are not accurate. This ball drop is bad. I have no idea what any of the lyrics were, so all I'm evaluating any of these performances on is just the performance. So we have group 1, Las Jessis. I love this color story they were doing of black and red. They looked bold and visually striking. Laka Udia sounded perfection opening up the number, and their voice was just like butter. I completely understood why they won the challenge. Ferran was maybe the most hesitant of the group, and I saw her really unfocused. And I think Ferran is very, very, very lucky that she was a part of the high group, because this could have been a bottom 3 position, in my opinion, especially when you factor in the runway. Daphne was so sexy in this group. Every single time she did anything, my eyes were locked in on her. Like, I was so plugged in for Laka Udia, and I was really ready to see her get a win. But also, Daphne Mugler exists, and all I could look at was her. She is perfection in every single element, and I'm sure that the lyrics were great, but the visual package is where it was at. And Satine was giving MILF down. I love Satine's raspy voice, especially when singing. She's got the sauce, man. Then we have Dragtastica's Girl Not the Cheetah Girls revival. I thought this group visually looked messy. I liked where it was going. The ideas were solid, I'll say that. I have a lot of problems with the way that Alexandra dresses in pads. The boob proportions are never quite right. The hip proportions are always a little weird. Just something about the shape is always kind of evil and sinister, even if I like her. And I think this look was bad. It was bad. The lyrics seemed like they were good. I wish I could have read them. La Scandalo, I think, sounded great, and I thought the comedy was funny. I understand the bottom placement purely based on the runway, but if it was only evaluated from the performance, I think that Escandalo was really good. Crystal Forever opening with "Hey f*** was sorry. Straight to jail. Prison for life. And then I thought the look was crazy. And Margarita Califata sounded incredible in my opinion. I think her styling was maybe the best out of everybody there, but I will say she was really stiff in her movements. I think even in the parts where she didn't look the most confident, she still worked it out and was maybe the standout of this group. I think they were all fairly weak. But then we have Las Chiste Malo. I think the pink and the black storyline came off a little junior, and that had a lot to do with the fact that all of them were styled so differently from each other. My buzzword is discordant. Discordant. Eva had these ribbons that were cascading down one side of the bodysuit. Denebola looked like a housewife who came out of a comic book. And then Nyx looked like she just came off the street from giving cranks to strangers for 10, 15 bucks each. They had an interesting structure compared to everyone else who got the kind of typical girl group lines where one girl sings, break, one girl sings, musical interlude. For this group, all of them were in each other's lines, which I think made for a refreshing take from everybody else. It made it stand out. And on that end, I liked what they did and what they created. I liked the structure of this song. The sad part is that they were badly blocked and they didn't seem to choreograph well, and if they did choreograph well, they did not know individually what they were supposed to do. All three of them kept looking around at each other and looking at where their marks were. The edit tried to make me believe that it was just Nyx that was the main offender, but all three of them were just as bad. And I think even though Denebola got great critiques, I think that they were just as complicit in the bad choreography as the other two. And I think in my opinion, I thought Nyx was the most present in the entire group. The problem with Nyx is that she was always just like one beat ahead of everybody. And that is a problem. And then for the runway, I loved this prompt. Denebola is giving us Monster High meets Gyaru. I think this neon green looked incredible on her. Do I think that this was an ova? I don't know. But then I saw the nails and I thought maybe the nails are an ova. The rest of it was very good. It was constructed well. Alexandra as a watermelon was cute. I appreciate the drag of it all. Big drag energy. Nyx, I think, was going somewhere with this rotten fruit look, but I don't know if it ever reached the destination. I also take issue when a dress doesn't completely hit the floor. The length was awkward, and that neckline was doing no favors for her at all. I liked Crystal's apple look before the reveal. It was Garden of Eden, it was witchy and avant-garde, but then it tore off and was just like a superhero drag queen look, which is very similar in concept to what she did for the talent show. And on one hand, while I appreciate the branding that it's being consistent, it's maybe a little familiar. Ava Harrington was perfection to me, purely for the drag fantasy of it all. That stoning was god tier. I can't even imagine how many hours and how much E6000 went into creating that look. It was immaculate. The sparkles made me wet, and even though I understood why she was in the bottom because the performance was really that bad, I felt like maybe this look could have saved her, but then again, I don't know who I would have put in the bottom other than maybe like Ferran. But she's not up for elimination because she was a part of the high group. Speaking of Ferran, they weren't really doing too much for me this week on the runway. I like the concept of this orange look, and I think their butt looked great from the side. Plump. But this armor-like bodysuit, I think is just getting a little repetitive for me. I've seen it a lot of times. Daphne was serving a showgirl tomato, and I really liked it before it unveiled. I think it would have been much cooler and effective because it was so avant-garde if it just had stayed up. And it was almost like this sultry tomato. Because when it all came apart, it looked like a sea life creature. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it kind of took me out of the fruitness of the look. Great thought process to go with a tomato with a fruit runway. I love that. I just wish it stayed up. Said that before. La Escandalo was giving us a fig moment into a gown. The gown was pretty, it was well made, It was well tailored, it fit her like a glove, but on the inside of it were a bunch of bees, which I guess are close enough to wasps, but are also very different. And if you did not know about wasps and the way they correlate with figs, go and do a quick Google search and you'll never want to eat a fig ever again. I just don't really think the storyline between both looks were cohesive with each other. I understood the bottom placement because of that. And Laka Udia was looking camp straight in the eyes. I liked all of it from the front, but from the back I was left wanting a bit more. There was nothing on the back interesting to keep my eyes wanting to scroll it. Trend alert, that seems to be happening a lot this season, but I really enjoy the way they perform on the runway. It's just magic to me. Margarita Califata is giving us another watermelon. Okay, here's the thing. For me, para mí, I love the parachute chaps. It was like slutty ABBA. I have a problem, personal problem if you will, with these jumbo-sized boobs. I'm so tired and exhausted with them. There's no way to have known what people were doing in other continents, but Siam ran these jumbo boobs into the ground. Other queens have run these jumbo boobs into the ground and I'm tired of looking at them. I don't want to see them anymore. There's nothing wrong with a sensible breastplate. I don't know why it bothers me. I just don't like them. I feel like Michelle Visage hating Marie Antoinette. Like, I just don't like those gigantic. They're bigger than Fantasia's. Come on, stop it. Knock it off. And then Satine is repping grapes and I fear I must stand. It was the simplest look on the entire runway. And yet, I'm sitting here like, please give me more. Please give me more column dresses with things on it. It's so good. If it was anybody else in this cast, I would not like it. But I don't know why I fuck with it so hard when Satine does it. She's mother. Laka Udia is the winner of this maxi challenge and I was very happy as a stan because I've been waiting for them to get a win up until this point. And again, I assert that Ferran is extremely lucky to be on the winning team. And Supremme gags the entire room, as well as myself, that this is going to be a bottom 3 episode and 2 queens are going home. Yikes! That's scary, and that had to have been terrifying in the room because 7 of them were up to be chopped. And our bottom 3 is Escandalo, Nyx, as well as Eva Harrington. This sucks because I like all 3 of them and I don't want to see any of them go home even though I know someone has to. Eva struggling to get out of her costume was an immediate hindrance and handicap to the rest of her performance because I feel like it took her a little bit to kind of find the rhythm of the song, and then I think she struggled to find her mark among the other 2. She kept getting really close to them and kind of in between them, but then would go to the top of the stage and move somewhere else and just never really found a good beat in the lip sync. And Escandalo's hair just fell apart, and I think she tried her best to make it work, but it just was there like a limp scrotum in her face. And she just never recovered from that either, I fear. Whereas Nyx was completely plugged in the entire time, was locking eyes with the judges, never left her mark, and performed until the song was over and never got distracted by any of the chaos that was happening around her. There were things flying, there were wigs falling apart, there was streamer, there was a lot happening. It was almost overstimulating, so I tried to just lock eyes with Nyx and not traverse to the other ones because I just didn't want to. And Nyx is called safe, which I immediately wrote, thank God. I love all 3 of these performers, so it was hard to see 2 of them go home, but ultimately, I'm glad that Nyx is still here because I want to see her go to the finale. And now, these 2 eliminated queens get to leave their half heart pieces with someone. I think competitively, the best move would be both of them agree to give their heart pieces to Satine. Since she has nothing, she will then immediately get a full heart and will get to potentially save someone. As the resident mother, I think she would make the best decision for the group. That would be the best move. I could see both of them wanting to play smart, but also they could have alliances in the room and want to protect those alliances. My question is, what if 2 full heart pieces happen? Would there then be a bottom 4? Would there be a scenario where there's a bottom 3? 2 of them get saved and then they have to pull someone from the safe category to come lip sync? Like, what happens then? There's so many opportunities of what ifs, and we won't know again until next week, but I'm excited to see what happens. And in my honest opinion, I think of these two that were eliminated, I think Escándalo is the most likely to return to an All-Stars series. Like, I could fully see her on España All-Stars 2 when and if that happens. When? It will definitely happen. And so I'm already calling it now. Mark my words, on this date, I think Escándalo will come back for an All-Stars. She seems maybe the most ready to do it, if the time ever presents. And next week is the Snatch Game, which always makes my booty tense up just a little bit. I never know what to expect from Snatch Game because we run the gambit of extremely cringe or mildly funny. And I think another part that makes me a little nervous, I saw a Mickey Mouse. That makes me want to throw up. Also, how are they going to be able to do that? It has to be public domain Steamboat Willie in order for Disney not to sue the shit out of them, or it's not Mickey and it's some other version, like Michael Mouse, who just happens to look a lot like Mickey and speaks in falsetto, but isn't a Disney IP. Like, what is this going to be? I just need it to be next week so I can know what that is. Anyway, that's where we leave off. What did y'all think about this episode and this double elimination twist? Gaggaroni! Let me know in the comments below. If you're interested in the Boulet Brothers Dragula, I will be covering that episode review tomorrow. I think we're in a really lovely time right now because I have one extra drag series that I am not covering right now, so thank God for that. And if you're interested in checking out my weekly Drag Race podcast, we will be finishing up Drag Race Season 15 this coming Sunday, and the following week is going to be something very special for Halloween time. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all on the flip.